the mid.
Everything.
Go on.
I got it all for under 24,000.
And you're having feelings of guilt.
Nah. Actually, I feel great.
So why are you telling me?
Well, I'm telling everybody.
The new XT350 from Hyundai, with the freedom of America's best warranty plan.
Excuse me, you got a minute? Not really. Just got this. V6, leather, beautiful power.
See your local Hyundai dealer.
At Post, we know people need everyday energy all winter. Pardon me. So we're here with Grape Nuts High.
It's still crunchy.
Excuse me, would you like to try some Grape Nuts High? I made it.
It's good.
What do you think about my hat? Grape Nuts High. Energy to burn.
Now, from Evening Edition, here's your local forecast. Always on the 8s of every hour.
Currently in your area, 27 degrees. Under cloudy skies. The forecast for your area. Expect fair skies Monday through Wednesday with temperatures in the 40s on Monday.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Live by it. You're watching the Weather Channel, Evening Edition.
On Sunday, the eastern half of the nation will be either digging out or drying up, but the weather will become active in the Pacific Northwest. A new storm rolls in off the coast, which means another healthy shot of snow or rain, depending on where you are. Meanwhile, snow fell in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic on Saturday. How much of it fell? We'll give you a peek in just a moment. Hello and welcome to Evening Edition West Coast. I'm meteorologist Mike Bono, and we'll begin our view of the weather as we go across the nation and take a look at where the snow fell. First of all, we're looking at some snow that we were seeing in the central part of the United States coming down through. We saw that snow really pile up, first of all, in Missouri and then southern parts of Illinois through the Wabash Valley. Parts of Kentucky got some snow, up to 6 to 8 inches in places, and on up through Ohio. And on into West Virginia, the snow coming in to the tune of 6 inches or more. On into the southern tier of New York, northern tier of Pennsylvania. Well, let's take a look and see how much snow we had after we noticed that the 3-inch line has gone all the way into Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Still snowing. Newark Valley, New York, not near Newark, New Jersey. This is up around the southern tier, Binghamton area. 13 inches, Binghamton got 12, Worcester 5, and Kennedy Airport in New York now with 4 inches leading the pack. And around Central Park about 3, so a healthy dose after only having a ½ an inch the whole season up till that point around New York. Philadelphia 3, Washington, and Boston. 3 seemed to be the big number in the Northeast corridor during the day, and folks in New York City certainly were dealing with that snow, and they knew what to do with it as folks were home from work and just loving life for the most part and building snowmen and playing with the snow in a good chunk of the East Coast. As we notice that low pressure system swinging on through, we can see that it's moving very rapidly. This is a 24-hour sequence. Now back into the Midwest, we had some snow drying out rapidly. This is the same shot that gave Missouri up to 3 to 6 inches of snow, then Kentucky, now into New England. Notice the rain that dumped amounts that we'll talk about in the southeast, rapidly moving into the ocean. Pretty clean this overnight in the Midwest, except the northern tier getting into some snow, the Rockies, Cascades and rain on the coast. More on that in just a minute after we take a look at the map and see that our low pressure system, the big culprit, is now drifting east of the Virginia coast. Plenty of heavy precipitation out there, but how about that snow? It's moving eastward right now, and the dry air is too. And we can see some drying going on in upstate New York and on into parts of Pennsylvania and Virginia. It's clearing out. And the snow is shutting off in upstate New York and Pennsylvania, but around Boston and Foxborough, Mass., there's still some snow falling. And playing football, that's right. You know, we really hardly had a chance to see any football games in the snow this season because there hasn't been a whole lot of snow where most of the games are played in the South, the Midwest, and the East. But, well, Saturday was an exception, and one of the playoff games was right there in Foxborough, and they won too, so they were ready for it. Now, Worcester is about the western edge of all that snow, back to Hartford, New York City. It's almost over. Atlantic City, you went back to snow after the rain. So it's all over, but the shouting. Lakes region of New Hampshire, a few flurries in Vermont. Maine, only along the coast you may get up to an inch, maybe 1 or 2 inches left any place, as we see that area just moving very rapidly out. Temperatures down into the teens already in Albany, where you got several inches. Buffalo is 21. New York, 28 is about the same as you were the whole storm. Boston, 26. Washington, 32. So things will slicken up. You can be sure of that overnight. Meanwhile, in the southeast, Alabama, Georgia, 2, 3 or more inches of rain. What a rainstorm this was. You haven't seen anything like this in months. In the southeast, Georgia, South Carolina, most locations, this is more than you've seen since last June or July. Around the time of Allison on the Gulf Coast and the rain that followed that. Haven't seen heavy rain since about that time, so you really needed it, and the reservoirs and lakes are running very low in this part of the southeast. But that's headed out quickly after giving some beneficial rains. Some breaks in the clouds, but mostly overcast around Atlanta, Birmingham, a few breaks further south as it chills down after being very warm, 70s and 80s during the day. 80s in Florida, 70s in the south and middle Georgia. Now it's down to 38 in Atlanta, 37 Birmingham, still 66 in Tampa. So what a time, what a 3-day weekend to be in Florida. Even the thunder showers and rain showers are kind of fizzling out. And they'll be hard to see in Florida on Sunday. Hope you're sitting in front of the TV at your favorite resort watching. And not a half bad day in the southeast, drying out a little bit. Dallas 53, Tulsa 51. The actual highs were a little bit above average around Minneapolis and Chicago, but still like January, and now it's like January too, although this is a piece of cake for this time of the year. These kinds of temperatures, a little chillier to the north, but this is about right in International Falls. But in St. Louis, you had a little bit of snow overnight Friday, as we showed you on that big map with the track of the storm, and by morning Saturday, it was kind of wet and slushy and falling off the trees as the temperature began to get up, but the kids knew what to do with it. And folks that were kids at heart knew what to do with that snow in St. Louis. Shoveling, doing a little work, making a little money maybe, but having a snowball fight too. Now a little bit of fog in the Wabash Valley and off toward the Mississippi Valley as you have still a wet or snowy ground depending on where you are, and the winds are still. But there's a front that's attempting to come on down from Canada with lots of cold air. We're getting some clouds moving out ahead of that front and a little bit of snow in parts of North Dakota, even less in Montana except in the mountains. So there will be a bit of chill, as you saw that below zero reading in International Falls, pushing down. But Sunday, northern tier comes in, upper 20s. That's not too bad. Current temperatures, 10 in Lander to 22 in Denver. This is not unusual for this time of the year. Around 40 with rain around Seattle and Portland, 50 in LA, as we're seeing the highs that were a bit milder, but the plateau area, kind of a stagnant cold air mass right down near the ground there. 60s in LA and San Diego, 59 a cool day in Phoenix, and 40s in the northwest. We had some rain in Quileute and Tillamook and Meacham in Oregon, not getting the snow this time, but the rain. North Bend on the coast, the rain. Portland, Seattle, a little bit less, and you'll get more because the current weather map shows that we have some more wind coming in from the ocean, a little bit of snow in the higher elevations, Idaho and Montana, and the fog residing in parts of Oregon and Idaho. Low pressure coming in from the ocean, not a blockbuster, but enough to keep the moisture in west of the Cascades. Disturbances keeping the snow in east of the Cascades into parts of the Rockies too, even the Salt Lake Basin and the Wasatch, but mainly rain along the 5 route, Washington and Oregon, a little bit of snow on up into the Cascades to the tune of 3 or more inches, maybe 6 in Washington by mid-morning Sunday. A little bit of that in the northern Rockies, a little less around Utah, but the icing on the cake are right around the venues for the winter games. Windy weather, though, in the usual spots in Montana.
It's just after 2.